There was a streak of sunlight made tangible by dust that I afforded the freedom to scorch my cheek. My mouth was dry, but my body was so comfortable. I had no idea I was getting on. A fine predicament when a party starts, but as the good times draw in, the panic surfaces in flashes like a scar on the reel of a beautiful Technicolor film. I resolved the worry pangs as quickly as they appeared with self-assuring waves of what does home really mean to a girl in my state anyway, and once I get there, I'll only shrivel in the bathroom wondering how things suddenly got so sterile. With that, I let the grass take me once again. Well, once maybe a lie. From nowhere came a surge of imperative energy from a member of our group, the notion of exploration. I felt bodies crunch and wince at the plan as they lay on their backs going nowhere. Then it gripped me, literally. A recruiting hand that was surprisingly clean against my saturated paws. Had I been digging? Blood inflated my head as I was rudely whipped from my position, and intention became assertion. Out from under the canvas, and white shards illuminated my commissioner. I am silently very ungrateful, yet my eyes muster up the joy. I remember the blood inflation sensation transforming into just sharing a stranger's bravado as I was proudly marched across a crispy field. This mission proceeded to bypass every dancing, singing, ale-wielding glad beast in favour of the far corner, where two 11-foot dull metal grill barriers met. My commissioner unscrewed the loosely arranged bolts connecting the barriers and released me into a restricted area of some kind. "Are you important around here?" I asked him, with a slope in my stoop. My commissioner, who is a tanned bull terrier-shaped man with the smallest mouth I've ever seen, just a 2-inch slit in his face. He ushers me towards a pop-up log shack set up on an articulated lorry. I wondered how you get inside. Inside, the musk masked me. All I can see is the curve of leotard leg holes, animated, moving in circles, and the angle that men lean at when they see such a thing. The sweat felt like dry smoke, and smoke tasted like dry sweat. Am I supposed to grind in here too, I thought. I saw myself rooted to the slippery floor, and I realised that this whole room was a stage, and the show had a kink in it. The little mouth pursed its lips and suggested, "Drink." I bit the bait and set about crossing the orgy swamp, and like my first time ice skating, I clung to the sides. Somehow I was still smiling, so I thought perhaps it was time to try not smiling, and poof, we were outside again. The difference is, I now know what a reinforced prude I can be. Again, like a cuffy locks on. It's not often the carrot dangles behind, is it? I don't remember the walk, but I remember the next bit. We arrived at a similarly dull part of this vibrant event, a van old where two weathered individuals reacted warmly to my commissioner's approach. One of these men had long silver tangled hair and a bulbous blue booze nose, gangly and looming. He could reach his knees stood up, and he wore blue denim that had browned. The second guy was much shorter and rounder. He seemed like a cartoon mouse, and definitely bought his nose from the same shop as the first guy. Been drinking, have we, fellas? There was a moment shortly after my introduction when all three men fell silent and did some factory reset on their faces, so they were able to look at me for a while without freaking me out. Well, it freaked me out. And then, the questions.
"So what do you like?"
During what?
Like, during your life, like?
Stop saying like.
You think you're good, don't you? There will always be someone who can make you look a fool.
And is that person you today?
No, I'm just saying, like...
Correct. You aren't just saying like. Next person. Suddenly no one wanted to talk to me. And once more the factory reset. So I take the lead. Sorry. So, do you want to know what I enjoy doing or what I have to do?
What do you have to do?
I have to manufacture dreams.
Okay, right, so what do you enjoy doing?
Manufacturing dreams, how about you?
Well, I sure as hell like slumber, but I've never bought a dream.
You ever taken a sleeping pill? Reset. My commissioner and I shared an orange plastic bullet on a grassy knoll, shortly after he saved those poor men from me. And there it was, hanging over my head like a chandelier of talons, the realisation that this was my bad one. Everyone has one. You hear the stories of poor bastards, but it truly burns when the moment is your own. It's not often bullet time lingers after the hit, is it? We used courage and emotional strength to reach a security guard. And the only question I need to walk to him, as my commissioner's tiny mouth said, "Excuse me, please." Those few words took long, spiralling, anger-fueled paragraphs for him to say, and finally my exit wound. My mind reached the peak of panic as I watched his tiny mouth become a scare on the film reel, which had snagged on the dagger of a bastard projectionist and ruined my lovely day. By now, my commissioner was in uproar, explaining that we had to get to his van. What the hell are we going to his van for? My eyes locked onto the supple gradient of the adverse camber we were stood on, and I realised that if I took a run at the inside, I could gather enough breath to clear this hurdle of a scene. I looked back at the slit-mouthed terrier and he was practically spitting the blue of his cheeks out at the guard. I counted down, turned my head, and dashed for it. The stalls looked so lovely blurred, and my commissioner sounded much better far away. I ran long after his screams became a whisper, until I'd spent my cheated breath, and I took a break to inhale. Thankfully, a bandy-legged inquirer requested my status. His elbow was offered at such an appealing angle, and I rose to clip myself on. The inquirer asked me to relax and regurgitate the circumstance. I explained that I had no known way home and the strangers are getting stranger. I told him that the experience felt significant, as though the day was made of symbols, like my day is some kind of experimental sigil held by the orchestrator of my life.
You may often question why events are sent to haunt you, and perhaps you feel that you are being conditioned by some greater force. Please don't let fancy ideas of fortune cloud your rational mind.
He began walking towards me as though herding me into this conviction coop.
You are just having a bad one, and it will work itself out. These things always work out in the end.
Walking backwards, I felt a large footfall under my step. I turned to find that my inquirer's conviction coop was actually the open arms of a true friend draped in a sleeping bag gurning at the sky. I howled, which snapped my friend out of his daydream and provoked him to envelop me in a sleeping bag that he had already inadvertently surrounded me with. He put warmth where warmth wasn't.